Good evening. It's what a difference 6 years makes. A little more fun night tonight. I want to thank my wife Lisa and my three daughters for going on this journey with me that has gone from governorship to the Senate office. I also want to thank you guys. Need to get in the shot. Don't come on. Not your first time for either one of you. I want to thank my dear friends Tim Kaine and Ann Holton for being here as well. 6 years ago, when it was a little bit longer before I got to do this, it was Lisa and I and lots of scurrying around, and Tim being the kind of one calm force in the room that night, and I will always remember that. Although I will note that you told me it was actually 7:01 it got called this year.
Yes.
So I just...
I got called at 7:02 2 years ago, so he's reminding me.
Well, no. Well, I'm incredibly proud and grateful to the people of the Commonwealth for sending me back to work in the Senate. And while we're all waiting on the national results, I'm optimistic that this is going to be a very, very good night for our country. Of course, none of this would have been possible without the hard work and dedication of countless Virginians who worked their hearts out during this most unusual election of our lifetime. It's safe to say that this campaign looked nothing like what we started or thought it would look like 9 months ago. Running for re-election during an unprecedented global pandemic really in many ways made us kind of rewrite all of the rules of how to do a campaign. So to all of those Virginians who helped build this successful campaign, who helped educate voters about how to vote in a different way in Virginia, and this year I want to commend as well the governor who I just talked to and our General Assembly, who made it so much easier to vote in Virginia. 45 days of early voting, the ability to vote by mail, the ability today to have a state holiday, all incredibly important. But that took an education of voters across the Commonwealth and a lot of our volunteers who helped make that possible. We didn't do as many rallies, but I want to thank the coordinated campaign who did incredible work in terms of texting and calling. I want to thank Bruce and Mike Harney and Kate and Rachel, and I'm going to thank all these folks later who are part, Corinne, Alice. If I go down this list, I've got a whole list here. I will call them out at our little staff get-together later, but there were a whole lot of folks who made this, this campaign incredibly special. And I want to thank all the Virginians who worked the early polls, who worked the polls today. We couldn't have done this, obviously, without you. I hope this campaign has made you proud. I hope tonight will mark a turning point for both our Commonwealth and for our country. All across America, we've seen the remarkably devastating effects of the pandemic. 230,000 Americans have died. 30 million Americans have either lost their job or had their jobs reduced. Hundreds of thousands of small businesses are shuttered. And millions of Virginians and tens of millions of Americans are just hanging on, trying to make ends meet. In order to get the economy going again, we've got to get the virus under control. And that means, just as Joe Biden has said, we've got to let the scientists and the docs set the policy. Until there's a vaccine, we need to keep focused on measures that will stop the spread of the virus. We need to make sure we've got free testing, robust contact tracing, and I still do not understand why 6 months after we haven't made literally billions of these masks and should be able to give them out everywhere for free when you walk into a store, church, or school. And I know I echo this with my colleague and dear friend of 40 years, Tim Kaine. Congress has got to stop the posturing and get another COVID relief package passed. That means help to small businesses. It means help to schools, healthcare providers. We did it before with the CARES Act. We came together with the administration, but those dollars have run out. The American people, Virginians, need additional relief, and my hope is we can get back to work on that as early as next week. Final comment before I take a couple questions is The truth is, particularly during this administration, the country's been divided for too long. We're facing a challenge with this virus greater than anything we've seen in our lifetime, short of wartime. And the only way that we're going to be able to defeat that and truly build back better is if Americans become united. That means ending the kind of attack rhetoric and mean-spiritedness that too often has infected our political discourse. It means we've got to stop the name-calling and actually start the healing. And the one thing that I've heard, and I have not been out as much as I traditionally would, but over the last 10 days or so I've crisscrossed Virginia from Southwest to Hampton Roads to the northern parts of the valley. And Virginians want us to get our act together. They want us to put them first. They know we live in the greatest country in the world, and there's nothing that we can't accomplish, but we've got to do that in a way that's united. We are going to recover. We're going to get through this virus. Brighter days are ahead for both Virginia and our country. My final comment is just a great big thank you to the people of Virginia. A lot of work to do, and I look forward to getting back to that. And with that, I'd be happy to take a couple of questions.
Senator, you talked about unity. I'm wondering what kind of words you have for your opponent.
Well, I've not heard from Mr. Gade. I have enormous respect for his service, to our nation, for his sacrifice he's made on behalf of our nation, and he ran a spirited campaign. And I don't know if I'll hear from him or not tonight. Please.
Senator, obviously a very close race 6 years ago. Not so much the case tonight. Do you feel like it's changed?
Well, I think a couple things. One, 6 years ago, we were running into headwinds at a national level where there was the challenge of Ebola. There was misinformation being put out about immigrants. And in many places across the South and the Midwest, frankly, Democrats got slaughtered in every statewide race. I didn't expect that race to be that close, but I take pride in the fact that I survived it. Since that time, we've seen Hillary Clinton win in 2016. We've seen Ralph Northam have an amazing win in 2017. We've seen my friend of 40 years, Tim Kaine, do a great job in a huge win in 2018, and we've got a little side bet going on margins between 18 and 20. And then in 2019, we saw the Virginia General Assembly turn Democratic. And some of that may be due to just general trends, but I actually think it goes back to what Tim and I started back in 2001 when we ran as governor and lieutenant governor. And Virginians want responsible, mainstream governance. And I think that's what Virginia Democrats have been able to show time and again. And I think as long as we keep down that mainstream path of getting things done, earning the kind of recognition that Tim and I did when Virginia was named best managed state, best state for business, best state for public education. End of the day, people want us to get stuff done. And that's what I tried to offer to the people of Virginia this year. My record, both as governor and the 56 bills that have become law, that I think that affected people's lives. And I'm grateful for the expression of support. Please.
Senator, if Democrats assume the majority in the Senate, what role do you see yourself playing with the Intelligence Committee in the near future?
Well, it's been a real both challenge and opportunity to take a leadership role in the Intelligence Committee. I've seen the incredible courage and bravery of our intelligence professionals, particularly during the last few years when oftentimes their ability to speak truth to power has been undermined by a president that's undermined them on a repeated basis. I'm proud of the fact that that committee in many ways has stayed one of the final functioning bipartisan committees, and I want to give a special shout out to my partner for most of that, Richard Burr from North Carolina, as well as the work that Marco Rubio has picked up since then as acting chair. But I think, our country faces enormous challenges from Russia, from Iran, from a rising Communist Party in China. And the Intelligence Committee has got to be independent of politics. It needs to be willing to speak truth to power. And should the Democrats take control, and whether I'm chairman or vice chairman of that committee, those intelligence professionals, the vast majority of which who live in Virginia, I'm going to have their back. On that note, I put my mask back on and done before 7:30. Pretty damn good night.